Hey, fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. Today we have something slightly different for you. We have Henrik on the line here. Not a podcast this time, but a review. He has been testing the new Prince Phantoms, the 100X, which was a favorite of mine, and the 107, which is also an interesting racket with a low flex, large head. So he's going to talk about these rackets. I haven't tried them, but Henrik is a well-trusted tester. He's been testing rackets for many years. He's been on Tennis Nerd many times on the podcast, as I'm sure you're aware. And he also writes for Tennis Nerd and the Swedish Tennis Magazine. So welcome, Henrik.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here again.
So the Phantoms, like they're an interesting line because they're kind of like modern rackets. Like if you start with the 100X, it's kind of like a modern racket, but with a more flexible feel, kind of thin beam. So it tries to be a little bit of everything in one racket.
Yeah, I tried this one, the 100X. As you see, it's a very thin beam, 100 square inch, 16-18 string pattern. But even if it's 16-18, it's not that open. It's pretty dense in the center. It's 8 in the mains, in the throat here, so you get quite good control. The flex strung is 62, so it's pretty solid. It doesn't flex too much. It feels very comfortable. I would say it's somewhat similar of the head gravity, the same category of racket. The dampening of the Prince racket is absolutely fantastic. You feel absolutely no vibrations at all, but you still have some feel from the ball. So it doesn't kill all feel as some models do. It's also has a pretty interesting design, as you can see. It's like a military style camouflage with a green bumper. Never seen anything like this in the past, so I think it will be like hit or miss for a lot of players. I like it a lot. I like the camo pattern. I like the military style clothing and accessories. So I think this one, for me, it's a really nice design, a nice racket, good ball bite, it has enough power, good feel, solid on all shots, and you can like hit very flat. You can hit with topspin, you can hit with good slice. It's good on serves, it's good on pretty much everything. I tried this one totally stock. I have no modifications whatsoever, and I have strung it up with Kirschbaum Max Power Rough at 22 kilos. Good textured string that keeps the tension very good, and yeah, it's a good frame. This is a frame I could pick up and play a tournament with without any doubt. It does everything good. It has no real flaws. I think a lot of players will appreciate this racket. I don't see any downsides with it.
The 100X was very popular because of like the comfort. I think the comfort and that you have a pretty spin-friendly frame, but with the beam is slightly thinner. So it's kind of an interesting racket. It's not like a spin racket in terms of that you have that thick beam, but you still get some power. But it's more of a kind of an intermediate power level, I guess, right? It's not as is it like more powerful than the predecessor? What is your feeling there? The stiffness is a bit higher, I would say, no?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more powerful. As we will talk, the other racket I have tried is the 107. And we will talk about that later, but that is a lot softer flex, and when it's like sub 60 in flex, the power level is dropping down pretty rapidly, and this one is 62, so it has better power. I would say this is in power level, I would say like a Gravity Pro ish, in that type of power category. Not as powerful as like a Beast or something like that in the Prince line, but good power level. I would not say this is for like beginners or weaker players. You have to generate your own racket head speed. You have to do the work with this one. You don't get anything for free. So it's a player's racket. Let's say if you are NRTP 5.0 and up, I think this is a really good racket for you. You can use it as a baseline racket. You can use it with serve and volley. but you have to generate your own power. It's good power level when you hit through the ball, but you have to generate, because otherwise it doesn't help you that much as a power racket with a thicker beam does.
No, and they have options for that. They have the Ripstick and they have the Extreme Tours, like the ATS Extreme Tours, which I think are good options. I mean, if you want power and spin in max, like the Ripstick 300 is a racket I like. I think it's a quite interesting racket with the big Extreme O ports. And then the ATS Tours are good rackets. I was a big fan of the predecessor, the Extreme Tour. So this one is obviously a little bit more like the Gravity. I think that's a good way of putting it, like more like an open pattern Gravity, which we sometimes talk about as we miss that from the retail Gravity Pro. Like it's a nice thin beam, 20 millimeters, and then the pattern is sometimes tricky. Like I'm moved away from 1820 patterns. I want more help from the launch of the racket. Like I'm playing mainly on clay anyway, so I think that 1820 is not for everyone. So it's good that there's a thin beam frame with 1618 or 1619 like this one.
A fun thing that I have a Gravity Pro stock with 1619 string pattern, and the string moves like crazy in that one. After 1 hour, the string is all over the place. You have to adjust the strings after every point, and I mean really adjust them. They are like all over the place. But with this racket, I don't have to adjust the strings at all. Not yeah, maybe one every 15 minutes or so, but in the Gravity all the time. But I don't know how they have achieved. So it's like this, but you don't have to adjust the strings at all in this Phantom 100X. So it's really good, because it's pretty annoying when you have to adjust the strings like extremely much after every point. Yeah, it's better when the strings are not moving that much.
No, and you're using poly when you're meaning that you adjust strings. Like it's not multi-filament you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's pretty stiff polyester strings, and it kills your fingers if you have to adjust it every point.
Yeah, wow. No, but sometimes like it's the model is made to be 1820, and they obviously for pros they offer different type of string patterns and drill patterns, and it's like the frame doesn't respond, or the way they drilled it is not the way it should be drilled according to the racket. For example, like this one is made to be 1618, so that's just my guess that it might be something with that, because it's not made to be 1619. Not sure, you know.
Yeah, and also Prince, the grip shape of the Prince racket, it's like the old head rackets, they are very rectangular. Prince rackets, they are very like round. They are the same on each side, but it feels really good. And the butt cap is, as you can see here, it's good flare on it. So it's really it feels very good when you're holding it. It's yeah, it just feels good when you pick it up. It feels good. The balance is good. The feel of the racket, the quality, the build quality is really good. It's a really impressive racket. If I was not to start to play with another frame that we might talk about later, this is a racket I actually could consider to use as a tournament racket, because it gives me such confidence to go for my shots. And I don't get tight when I have it in tournament play, because I need to all the time hit through the ball, so I don't get lazy with it as well. So it develops me as a tennis player, because I have to like be on my A game all the time to benefit from this racket.
Yeah, sounds good. How is it on serves, for example? Like that's a key shot for you, and how does it perform when you're serving with it?
It's good. I would say it's better for maybe slice, because it doesn't give you any real extra power. So you have to really hit hard to generate some nice pop on serves. But I mean, with the somewhat open 16-18 string pattern, it gives really good ball bite. So kick and slice. I would say this is a really good racket for serve and volley. Let's say that like a player like Pat Rafter would play today. That would be a racket that would be perfect for him, for example. It's really quick. It moves well with the thin beam, and it bites the ball really well both slice and kick, so it's really good. But if I use it in tournament, in matches, I would say I would use more like a kick or slice serve. That would be the best. But you can also hit hard, but it doesn't give you any extra boost in the serve. But it's good, it's solid, but yeah, slice and kick is the best with this racket.
And you felt enough connected to the feel of the ball in the strings to drop shots and drop volleys or more touch shots as well, despite the dampening.
Maybe some lack of touch because it's really well dampened at extreme. It's a really good layup with that material. So yeah, maybe it's not like the number one racket for touch shots because it's really well dampened. But I mean, it's just because I'm maybe a too weak player to use it fully. You could of course hit good touch shots with it, and the flex is pretty soft. So maybe you should use it if you're more like a touch player. You should use it without the vibration damper, for example.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Prince is kind of underestimated as a brand now these days. I mean, they've been around up and down many years, but it seems that they struggle to make any marketing campaigns and stuff because they produce good rackets. Like, I'm not surprised that you like this. I'm keen to try it myself. I like the previous generation, but it's always like it feels like they just seem to go past the audience because even if you're doing reviews and they get positive feedback. It's just that they don't have any players on the tour, and I think you to really sell rackets you need like some pro players. That's the feeling I get, at least from the tennis industry.
Yeah, let's say that like a player like Tsitsipas, for example, would use this racket. It would sell maybe not as good as like Wilson Blade, but it would be up there. It would be like a Radical or Wilson Blade or a Pure Strike, for example, because it's only marketing. The racket, the quality of we all know that Yonex does really good retail rackets, but I would say right now I think Prince makes the best quality rackets. The material feels fantastic. The finish of the racket is fantastic. It's right on specifications. It's just a quality product. Everything with the racket is breeding quality, but they don't have any sponsored players. They are not visible. I mean, I don't even think they have like an Instagram account. There is like Prince Japan, but I don't think Prince has like an international Instagram account, if I'm correct. Or do you know?
They have a brand account, but it's not like pushing rackets so much. It's mainly like they do this deals with Dave Grutman and influencers and more clothing and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's I've had Tim Patak on the podcast a few times. I think he still works for Prince as the racket engineer. And I think that the structure of Prince is very different. Like, it's run by a separate company. So I think they do struggle. The distribution seems to mainly happen from Tennis Warehouse or around there. So yeah, it's a tricky situation because it's an iconic brand and they've had some amazing players like Agassi, for example, back in the day, and many others. But they seem to struggle a bit with the marketing because that, like with any product, you need to have the product seen on the tour. Otherwise, it doesn't work really. But that's great. It sounds. I'm really keen to try the 100X. I hope to get the demo at some point. But we go to 107, which sounds like a massive head size to play with. It's not as big as it sounds, probably. I've tried 107 in the past, the long body version, which is not really my cup of tea, although it felt nice on impact. The one I tried also had a very sweet feel with the like 58 stiffness. Is this similar with this racket?
The stiffness of this one was strung 58 RA.
Wow. Okay.
It's a very open string pattern, as you see here. It's and also the strings move a lot when you play with this one. First, I strung this racket with Yonex Polytour Strike, a pretty stiff polyester with very good control. I strung it up in like 22 kilos or something, and I had absolutely no control whatsoever. So I strung it up with the Max Power Rough from Kirschbaum in 24 kilos, and it felt better. But the strings move very much. And also, when I tried it the first time, I tried it stock. I had no weights on it. Now, as you see here, I have added lead at 3, 9, and a little bit at 12 o'clock. But when you hit the ball from here up to here, the flex is extremely soft. So it feels like, if you remember when we used Epoch wooden rackets,
Yeah.
if you hit like the ball up here on a slice, it just dies. It's too soft for a big hitting surface like this. I would say it would be better if they have like a flex of maybe 65 in this racket. If I go like flat out, the ball could sail very long with this one. The feel is excellent. I mean, it's such a soft flex. So if you're more like a touch player playing a lot of like Santoro tennis and hit it in the center, then it's a beautiful racket. But you really need to have good touch to control the shot, or be like intermediate to a beginner. Then this racket is perfect. It's very big sweet spot. It's very open string pattern, so you get extremely good ball bite. You get explosive power. I had difficulties to control the power. I really needed to hit with heavy topspin. So I will give it a try at the clay as well, with slow, wet, damp conditions outside when we open our clay court. But on hard court, the ball just flew. And I also tried it on pretty fast indoor clay in Austria. And it was on altitude, and I had a really difficult time to control the ball there. It feels good when you are just like hitting baseline shots, but you need to be either like a beginner that needs the power from the racket, or be like a really good player to control the power of this racket. For me, I thought I would like this racket. I thought I would like it a lot. Like this is a racket I want to play with, because I love the extra bridge. Because Agassi, one of my favorite player, had a similar racket when I was young, and yeah, I always wanted to use a racket like that. But I had a difficult time to control the ball, so I would recommend this one for a player that really needs help with power and spin. Let's say you are like a 3.5 in rating, then this racket is much better than the 100X, for example. So if you need help, or if you play a lot of doubles and need some bazooka from the baseline and a really big hitting surface from up on the net, then this one is really good. The balance of the racket, as you see here now with lead, the swing weight was very light. I think it was around 310 or something like that. So now I have it up to 325.
Like the 107 I tried was long body, so the swing weight was really high. And then it's like, it's beautiful feel. I think when they do the thin beams prints, like the 93P, the 97P, and the 100P, the P models, I love them. I thought they were like amazing to play with. Really nice feel. Sometimes if they're too flexible, the way you play today and the way you need more power, like I've gone towards more power, then you go too much power, then you go down a bit. But it's always, you're looking for more on the ball generally, right? And this racket sounds like quite arm friendly and quite forgiving, but not maybe an advanced player frame, based on the specs at least.
Yeah, you need to be. You must either be a very good player that could control the ball, or you need to be like a beginner that needs the help from these rackets.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so overall, to summarize then, like the Phantom 100X winner in this test of these two new Phantoms you've tried, seems like a racket that suits kind of more advanced players, intermediate, high level, maybe too advanced, that can generate their own power, and they get some nice spin. They get a very good, well-balanced racket with a lot of abilities, nothing maybe wow on serve or massive in power, but good comfort, and an overall solid performing racket that I think there's a lot to like about. While the 107 seems a little bit more forgiving, a little bit easier with the power and spin, but not so easy to control if you're an advanced player enough to generate your own pace on the ball.
That's correct. Very well summarized.
Cool. Well, thanks, Hendrik. We're going to keep this call and go into a podcast now and talk about your racket choices and other things. But for this review, I think this was great, and really appreciate your time and your hitting. You're always hitting the ball well, and I'm always keen to follow your racket journey as we're always searching for something in our rackets.
It was a pleasure to be here and share my thoughts on the Phantom X and the Phantom 107.
Well, that's all for this review. Have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.